So we should just give up on these new Star Wars properties, right? I mean, with these repeated failures, there's just no way that they can just give us good, engaging stories, compelling characters, a coherent plot, and still be able to give us those good old-fashioned Star Wars feels. Like, there's just no... That's a low blow, man. That's not even the right music. There we go. Welcome to Star Week, everyone. The Comic Junkies Corner presentation that's all about
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
I'm your host, Mikey, and today we're here to talk about Star Wars Rebels. A series so good they actually put the words in the title in the right order. But am I getting ahead of myself? Or is this series actually good? Or am I just wiped out with bad to subpar Star Wars content that when something comes along that's even halfway decent, I think it's the best thing ever even though it has obvious glaring flaws? Yep, fight me on that one later. But for now, let's talk about some Rebel scum. The series opens up with a 45-minute pilot/mini-movie following our main protagonist, Ezra Bridger, a Force-sensitive scavenger who only looks out for himself to survive in a post-Revenge of the Sith world. He reluctantly joins a band of Robin Hood thieves who steal from the Empire to help out those who cannot help themselves. This team consists of Kanan the Jedi, Chopper the droid, Sabine the former bounty hunter, Hera the pilot, and Garazeb the, muscle? I need to do push-ups. This ragtag team eventually becomes a part of an even bigger team, and this team would become the Rebellion. This is basically what this series is all about, going underground, doing some not-so-good deeds for the sake of good, forming relationships, and forming this alliance that will eventually fight for peace and get us to this movie. And for the most part, the execution is decent. First off, the animation is passable. While the ships, droids, and environment look pretty good, the character design is a bit off. There is a real lack of facial movement in most of the characters that really hurts the ability to convey emotions. While I wasn't a fan of the animation in Clone Wars, there was at least some distinct facial movements at times that really clued you in on what the character was feeling. Now in Rebels, season after season, this does get better, but that first season... Just imagine if I talked to you like this, with only moving my mouth and my eyebrows and staring at you with dead eyes. Okay, they're not dead eyes creepy, but you see what I'm getting at. Something I neglected to touch on in my Clone Wars series review was the music. I mean, is it a big surprise to have good music in a Star Wars property? What I do like is how each series is very distinct. While the movies have this more fanfare type score, Clone Wars has this beating of the drums that just felt very tribal and militaristic. Pretty sure that's not the proper way to use that word, but this guy will correct me. Rebels is unique in that it actually encompasses both styles, but still has this almost deeper, kind of throatier kind of feel to it that really represents the struggle that the Rebels are going through. So when it actually gets to that uplifting fanfare, it means so much more. The dynamic between the crew is pretty solid, especially in later seasons when they've dialed back the jokes and focused on more real interactions. Now really it's only the first season that suffers from an overuse of humor, but that's odd because the pilot episode didn't do that. Now it's not prequel humor, but almost MCU humor. I wasn't getting angry or annoyed, I just kind of rolled my eyes whenever they got too jokey or quippy. But when they dial that back and make the characters more relatable, when there is a funny moment, there was times where I would just bust out laughing. Mostly at Chopper's antics, because that droid is just a complete ass. It's like if you combine K2SO, R2-D2, and just a general audience member. Like there's times when things are going bad and Chopper's just like, man, f*** this. The action is pretty dang decent in this series, when the plot armor isn't as thick as all get out. And it gets thick. You'll have like a stormtrooper that's like 3 feet away from the main character and the stormtrooper still can't hit him. I know it's like a meme that the stormtroopers can't hit anything, but they doubled down for this show. And it's not just them. Like the Ghost will just be orbiting a planet and a Star Destroyer will just lightspeed into view. Hera will just be like, shut down the power so they can't scan us. And I'm just sitting there like, they can still see you. You're like 50 feet away. You're right there. We've arrived, Commander. I'm running scans. There doesn't seem to be any ships in the area. What about that ship right there? Like the one right out the window, see? Interesting. Let me see what the scanner says. Oh man, look, damn the scanner. Look, it's right there. The ship. Look, 12 o'clock. Ship have been chasing for like 3 seasons. Look, it's right there. But the scanner says... Stop that! Now, fair warning to parents. This show gets super violent at times. No blood, but it isn't needed. Clone Wars did see people dying, but this one, I'm actually surprised Disney allows it. Unless Amazon just has a more violent cut than what airs on Disney XD, which is possible, but there are some moments that genuinely made my jaw drop. All jokes aside, the violence does tend to kind of counteract the plot armor, at times. Because you never really know if a character is going to be safe or not. And because the show does a good job of endearing you to these characters, it's a punch in the gut when something bad happens to them. On a plot filler ratio, I'd say it's about a 70-30 in favor of the plot. The filler episodes aren't bad, but you can tell it's just filler. Those episodes are usually used to introduce a familiar character like, Princess Leia, C-3PO, or to have a lesson in morality. You can usually forgive it because the show is more weighted towards driving the plot forward, but I felt like I should bring it up. There are some serious deep character moments in this show as well. It has episodes that really dive into what makes these characters tick. Now, despite the violence at times, this is a kids show, so it's not entirely subtle, but at the same time it's not pandering to the kids. There are some challenging themes in the show that will make you think, and even though it's spelled out sometimes, it's done in a way that doesn't hammer you over the head with it. Guess you could say they found a balance in the Force. Okay, on a serious, nerdy level, there are some characters that do return from the Clone Wars. Some you can tell from advertisements, and some you just actually never expected to see again. Hey, man! How you been? I expect to see you again. Hey, come in, sit down. Hey, you want something to drink? I got some fresh squeezed blue milk. In closing, Rebels is definitely a decent addition to the Star Wars franchise. The animation isn't the best, and there's definitely a lot of plot armor issues, and the humor is not great in the beginning. But it makes up for it with a compelling story, good characters, and enough of that good old-fashioned Star Wars feel that, if you're okay with the violence, is definitely a good series for Star Wars fans young and old. So there's my review for Star Wars Rebels. Please feel free to share your review of the series down in the comments section below. Is there anything I missed or got wrong? Post that down there as well. I make mistakes too, so help me learn. Do it. Thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode of Star Week as presented by this Common Junkies Corner on McBlam Entertainment, bringing a little bit of enjoyment to your day every day. And if you want to be in on the enjoyment, be sure to subscribe so we can see you in the next video.